I broke my entire project.
Should I have probably already known that? Yes.
Pretty good. So that's 2 ESCs done and 2 more to go.
There's something in there about insanity being doing the same thing multiple times. It's a quote, right? Another day, another sleigh. It's Friday and I have done no hardware work really today. I had a bunch of meetings, but before I go home today, I am planning on getting the radio receiver on. So I've looked up the pin connections on the flight controller, and I'm hoping that I've got it the right way around so I know which wires to connect to which wires. So I'm going to do that soldering now. I'm not going to take out the wires that I don't need yet because I don't know if I've got it right. And if I've got it wrong, then that would be a waste of money. So I'm just going to solder the ones I need. So this black wire, this is ground. This is the VCC, so the actual voltage connection. And then I'm pretty sure that I need the white wire, which is the S-bus in connection pin. That's the word, pin. Blanked completely. It's the S-bus in pin, which connects to the S-bus in pin on the actual flight controller. That's the protocol that it uses. So I'm gonna do that. I'm pretty sure that's right. I couldn't find wires with bullet connections, as in these wires. I could find the bullet connectors, but I couldn't find enough of this 20 AWG wire. I can only find black and red, and I need blue as well, or at least any other color, but there was literally just black and red and I need a third color. So instead I'm going to check that these wires are still usable. I looked up a YouTube video on how to do that using a multimeter. Apparently I can check if these are actually usable or not. So I'm going to do that first. See if the wire is usable. If not, I'll worry about how I'm going to get more wire. I'll figure something out. But that's step 1. And then step 2 is to solder the radio receiver. And then that'll be it for today, because I spent the morning doing some teaching assistant work and having a training course. So I haven't really had a chance to do much actual hardware work. But yes, I will take you along with soldering again, because the soldering of this will be slightly different because it's wire to a wire rather than a wire to something. So it's going to be a little bit different. And I'll show you how I measure whether these are actually working according to the YouTube video that I found. So let's hope that the YouTube video is correct. But I do trust random people on YouTube when they tell me electronics information. So hopefully it'll be fine. This is a digital multimeter. I have set it so that it's on continuity meter. So this should tell us if there's continuity in the wire and therefore whether it's actually allowing electricity through and there's not a break somewhere. And if it beeps, then that means there is continuity and the wire is fine to use according to the YouTube video that I found. So I'm going to test that out. And there is a beep, so that wire is good. Right, back to the soldering station. I just did one of the wires. As you can see, those are together now. I'm going to take you through the next one, because why not? I'm probably not going to get to do the soldering of the motor wires because it's almost time to go home. And I don't want to stay late today because I stayed late yesterday. So on to the next. I'm going to do the ground wire next, which is easiest. So need to connect these two, solder them together. So first I'm going to cut off a bit of this rubber covering. I'm sure it's rubber actually. This wire coating, I'll cut that in half, maybe. There we go. That's that. So now I'm going to put that on here so that I can pull it over once I've done the soldering. Okay, fingers crossed that should hold. I'll leave it to cool down. And then I'll do the last one and I'll switch it on with the battery attached and see if it lights up, because that will mean the connections have worked. So I'll try that before I go home. So here is the radio receiver all plugged in. I need to remove the rest of the wires at some point, but for now, let's check if it actually works.
So, camera down. Okay, that's plugged in, and let's have a look. Yes, look at that. Okay, so I at least know that there's power going to it, so that's good. And I'll have to check whether it actually connects to the radio controller, because it's possible that I got the like S bus in, S bus out bit wrong, and that's the actual like messaging part, so I will check that. But yes, this is the flight controller, by the way. I'm not sure if I actually like showed it properly before, but every time I talk about the flight controller, this is what I'm talking about. It's a Pixhawk 6C, and yeah, plenty of stuff plugged into it at the moment. I'll go through it at some point.
Okay, on to the next task, which is getting the motors on the ESCs. So like I said before, I'm going to solder the existing wires I had from the motors onto the new motor. I've already chopped off the connector that the new motor had, which was this thing. That's now been chopped off. So now I'm gonna go do some soldering. My favorite thing to do, the thing that I do most at my job, I think. Yeah, it's great. I'm actually a big fan of it. It's actually really therapeutic. So I'm gonna go do some of that now. And it's gonna be a pretty similar process to what I was doing with the radio controller, because it's soldering a wire to a wire. So I'm probably not gonna show you any of it, because it's just the same thing. Although one thing I did fail to mention when I was doing the soldering for the radio controller is that I did, once you solder two wires together, you do put some more of the sort of like rubber wire over it, and then you use a hot air gun to get it to actually mold to the shape of the existing wire. So I didn't show that bit, but now you know. So fun fact. Okay, on to my favorite activity.
Hello. So I've soldered one of them. Here we go. I took forever to do it because I couldn't find the heat shrinking tubing for the wires, but eventually found some. Not any black ones though, so I'm using yellow. I've ordered more, so hopefully the rest of them will be a bit more consistent. But I'm now testing whether the motor's actually running when I plug it into the battery, and it does, and I'm going to show you now somehow, because it kind of goes insane when you switch it on. It kind of bounces around. I had to stop it from dragging the whole thing off the desk. So I'm going to give it my best shot in showing you how it is actually running. So I'm going to hold it up like this, and you're going to see it sort of twitch ever so slightly, and I'm going to try not to give myself a jump scare. There you go. It was doing that, but on the table, so it was bouncing everywhere. This is a bit more sensible. Probably should have done that first.
Okay, so I've soldered the second motor on. So I've got motor 1, motor 2, and I've tested motor 2, and it works, baby. So that's good. I've got 2 motors working so far. Let's go. And I just need to do 2 more, which I'll probably do tomorrow because it's getting late. So once I've done that, like I said, I can get the frame back together, and I can make sure the radio is working, because it does have power to it, and I really wish I could raise it a bit further without breaking the whole drone. And
your estimate error.
That's Q ground control yelling at me.
Compass is 75 degrees inconsistent.
I know it's inconsistent because
Pre-flight
it's
fail.
on its side.
Compass is 71
okay, great.
degrees inconsistent.
I'm gonna unplug that. And now she's stopped.
Communication
Excellent.
lost.
Oh no, not quite. Right, now she's stopped. What was I saying? Right, the radio. So the radio does have power to it. As you can see, it's flashing here. But it might not be actually able to pair with the radio controller. So that's something I need to check, is whether I've connected it properly so that it can actually connect to the radio controller and actually provide the correct information to the flight controller. So I'll do that once the frame's back together and I'm actually in a position ready to fly the drone with the radio controller in manual mode. But for now, I'm glad that the motors are working, the 2 that I've done so far. I'll cry if the other 2 don't work, or one of the other 2 doesn't work. I'll be very sad. But that's tomorrow's problem. So far it's going well, which maybe I'm jinxing it by saying that. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it is going well. So inevitably something's going to go wrong soon, because that's engineering for me. But I'm happy with the progress so far. I feel like I should stop now, because I feel like I'm actually going to jinx it now. So thank you, and I will update you once all the motors, why did I do that? I'll update you once all the motors are back on and hopefully working, and then I can put the frame back together. Okay, I lied. I said I was going to do the rest of the motors tomorrow, but I just did them today because I figured I might as well. I have to leave a bit early tomorrow, so might as well finish them today. And they all work. They all work. I would show you, but it's a bit difficult to do like one-handed. I guess I can try. But yes, they all work. I've tested them out, so that's great. So tomorrow I can put the frame back together. I can get the radio receiver paired with the radio controller, and hopefully get the drone back into working order, essentially. Maybe do a quick manual flight here in the flight arena just to check that everything's flying properly, and then hopefully that means I can get back onto autonomous operation soon. So that's good. Getting hyped. Yes, I will show you quickly that they're all working and show you what I'm doing on Q ground control to test that.
You can see this is Q ground control. This is what we use to set up the flight controller, to set up the route, etc. This is all compatible with the PX4 Pixel flight controller. So yes, I have motor here, and then if I switch this on, it will show that it's running. I can't remember which one this is. I should probably do one that I know which one it is so I can actually hold it up. Which was the last one for this one? Yeah, this one. Okay, this is number 4. So I'm going to put the camera down and hopefully try and do. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So yes, you can see motor 4, and if I pull up one of the sliders you saw on the screen, it should. Oh wait, hold on. I did this earlier as well. I was like, why is it not working? It's because it's literally not powered on. It's because this needs to be connected. Honestly. I need to connect it to ground control. Now it's connected. And then I was still like, why is it not working? That's so bizarre, because I haven't plugged it into the battery, obviously. The amount of times I've done that is actually depressing. Okay, now it should be working. So let's try again. Which was the one I was using? It was this one. Yeah, okay. I think this should be number 4, so let's give it a go. Here we go. I'm pulling up one of the sliders on the screen that you saw. And there you go, it runs, and they all do that. I don't really need to show you all of them doing that, especially because I can't remember which one's which now. So if I do that, then they'll start like twitching everywhere. But yes, it works.
Hello, another day. I can't remember what my last update was. I think I had just finished putting all the motors back on and they were working, and now I need to put the drone back together. And I was about to put it back together. I've got all the arms back on so I can put the frame back together, but then I decided I should probably try and get the radio receiver working first, because once the frame's back on, it's really difficult and fiddly to actually get to the flight controller and like potentially unplug the radio controller, restore the things, try to put it back in. It's a bit of a nightmare. You've got to use tweezers, and I don't want to do that. So I thought, yeah, you know, I'll get the radio receiver working first before I put the frame back on. And I can't seem to bind it to the radio controller. So I asked the other PhD student who works in this lab, and he said that the port that should be connected from the receiver to the flight controller is the S-bus out on the receiver, should go to the S-bus in on the controller, which makes sense. And that was the other option that I was going to go with, but I ended up previously soldering the S-bus in wire to the S-bus in wire on the controller. But now that I think about it, it makes more sense that the S-bus out wire would be plugged into the S-bus in on the controller, because the receiver will be transmitting some data and the controller will be receiving that data through the in port. So that makes sense. So hopefully now that I've resoldered that, I didn't show it on camera because there's not really much point. It's the same as what I showed before. I've resoldered that so that the S-bus out wire is now the one that's connected to the S-bus in pin on the controller. So hopefully now I can try and bind the receiver to the controller, which is this thing that kind of looks like a games console controller. Maybe not like it kind of looks like a PlayStation controller, I guess. If I can get that binded correctly, then hopefully that is actually working, and then I can put the frame back together, but I'm not sure yet. So I'll let you know if it works or not. There might be some other problem explaining why it's not binding, but this at least is sorted now. Maybe that wasn't causing the wasn't causing the problem of not binding, but it was going to be a problem later on. So I'm glad that I fixed that now anyway. At least I really hope that I fixed it, and I hope I haven't just like messed it up further. Fingers crossed. We'll see, I guess. Yeah. First hiccup since rebuilding the drone, so I'll take it.
Okay, let's bind the receiver to the controller. I know for a fact that these connections are correct now, the S-bus out to the S-bus in on the controller, because I just found the old controller, I just found the old receiver in the case for the controller. So I know for a fact that this is correct now, and I probably could have saved myself a lot of time if I had just found that earlier, but alas, I forgot that it was there. Okay, there it is. It's now ready for registration because the green LED is on. You can't really see that well on here, but it is. And it's come up on here. There it is, the R9 Slim. That's our receiver. So we can click enter, registration okay, great. So now the green and red are flashing, so we know that it's successfully registered. So the next step is to bind it. So to do that, let me check the instructions. I'm gonna turn off the receiver, so I'm gonna unplug it. There we go. Then I'm gonna go down here to bind. Yep. And select that. Then I'm just gonna connect this receiver to power source again, and there we go, the green LED is on now, which means that it's ready to bind, and it's come up on here. Excellent. Select that, bind successful, great. So that's now working, so that's good, and we can see the green LED is on here, so that means that it's successfully bound. So that means it's working normally, and now I can finally put the frame back together because I know for a fact that this is now working correctly. So I think it must have been something to do with the connections, why it wasn't working, because I just couldn't get it to work before, and I don't think I really changed anything in how I was doing it.
There's a little cut in to say that even though I just said that I have no idea what changed and maybe it was the connections, I do know what changed. I forgot previously to put the actual like pack on the controller, so once I put this on, it was working with the binding and the receiving. So ignore what I just said. That's why it was working now. It wasn't to do with the connections, because the connections will only make a difference once data actually starts being sent through the wires. This is why it wasn't registering or binding the receiver, because I forgot to put this on.
Time to put the frame back together, so be prepared to see it in 3, 2, 1. And that's the drone put back together.